Hey guys, it's Bailey. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'll be talking about the difference between the economics major and the business economics major here at UCLA. If you're new to my channel, hi, my name is Bailey and I am currently a second year here at UCLA. I'm on the route to the business economics major, so I have definitely learned a lot that I wish I knew before I came into UCLA as I was choosing my classes in my freshman year. Because yeah, there's definitely a lot that I've learned. I've also received a lot of DMs and just comments from you guys with questions about the difference between the Econ and Biz Econ major and about certain Econ classes, so thought that I would cover that all in here so that you guys can reference this video as you're choosing classes or if you just have any questions. I'm going to be going over the baseline of what you need to know about the major, how to apply, what prereqs you need to take, what the major requirements are. I've taken a good number of econ classes already and I've already fulfilled like the math requirement. I've taken a management class, so I definitely feel like I can give at least a little bit of my experience. I'll give you my thoughts on enrollment, what classes I think you should take together, what classes I definitely think that you should not take together. So if you're interested in all of that, definitely stick around. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe down below for more. And before I start, as with all my other videos I've made about UCLA, everything I talk about is from my personal experience. So some people might say that they have a really bad experience or a really good experience with a certain class, professor, the econ department in general. Obviously everyone is going to have a different take on things. So yeah, overall, I have had a good experience. I'm still planning on continuing pursuing business economics, but if you have had a different experience than me, then let me know in the comments below. I think it's great, if you want to share your experience so that we all can hear about it. For the first half of the video though, I'll be going over the requirements for the different majors. So that stuff is all very clean cut, the requirements, those are not based off of my opinion. But for the second half of the video where I go over more my experience, just want to give that disclaimer. So yeah, without further ado, let's get right onto the video. Okay, I have my notes, so if I'm looking down, that is what I'm looking at. I know I usually use my iPad for my notes, but I printed it out this time, so we're going old school. Okay, so first with the baseline information, everything that I'm going to be discussing is stuff that you can find on the UCLA Economics Department website. They have a whole FAQ section that goes over a lot of commonly asked questions, and I feel like for the most part, a lot of people have the same kind of questions about the Econ and Biz Econ majors, so know that you're not alone. I definitely had a ton of questions. What I did my freshman year is I went to the Econ counseling department. So they have college counselors that are specialized in the economics department, so they can really go over your individual courses and look at your schedule with you, and you get that one-on-one time. It's super helpful, so I would highly recommend if you're really struggling to plan out your classes or you want your questions answered, definitely schedule a one-on-one meeting with an academic counselor, specifically one that works in the econ department. And then of course, if you have any general questions or questions about GEs, you can go to the CAC College Academic Counseling website, and there are a bunch of drop-in times, or you can set up a one-on-one appointment as well. Something to know is that in order to become an econ or biz econ major, you have to fulfill the prerequisites. So technically I am not a biz econ major student yet because I am still fulfilling the prereqs. So right now I'm known as a pre-business economics student. And then once I fulfill the prereqs and I satisfy all the requirements that are needed for the major, then you can apply into the major. And then once you've applied and then been accepted into the major, I'll go more into what acceptance into the major means. But once you go through that process, then you are an official biz econ or econ major student. Usually people take a couple years to finish their prereqs. It really depends on how many econ classes you take at a time, when you start taking them, whether you start taking them the first quarter that you get here or your third quarter, your spring quarter freshman year. It also depends on what AP classes you've taken. If your AP econ exam, your score covered econ 1 and you don't have to take econ 1, then obviously you're going to be ahead of someone who has to take econ 1. There really is no rush though. You don't have to fulfill all your econ requirements by the end of your second year or something. There's no hard set date kind of like that. what the requirement is that you have to fulfill all your prereqs before you hit 135 units. That means if you're Econ, you have to fulfill all of these classes before you hit 135 units, and if you're Biz Econ, you have to fulfill all of these classes before you hit 135 units. And that 135 unit cap, that includes the Econ courses, like all the prereq courses, and your GE courses. I would say typically each class ranges from 4 to 6 units. So if you think about it, like let's say a typical class is like 5 units, that's 135 divided by 5. That is like the max number of classes you can take before you apply for the major. That's like your deadline. I'm sure you can get your prereqs done if you take like 1 or 2 each quarter before hitting that deadline. I wouldn't really worry about it too much. If you are, then just, you know, like literally just write a plan of what courses you're going to take each quarter and then put the units next to it and just add up the units and see where it would be like you would be hitting 135 units, and just make sure that you can finish your prereqs before then. Oh, also something I should probably mention is that everything I'm going to talk about is for students who come into UCLA as like first year students. If you're a transfer student, I know there are different rules or like requirements that you have to fulfill. If you want me to make a video about the rules and requirements for Econ, Biz Econ for transfer students, let me know in the comments below and I'd love to make that video. But today's video is just going to be surrounding people who enter Econ or Biz Econ as non-transfer students. Okay, so I'm going to go over the prereqs and like the course requirements. So let's start off with Econ, because basically Biz Econ is the same requirements as Econ, except you have management courses, so accounting classes. So for Econ, the prereqs are Math 31A, Math 31B, Econ 1, Econ 2, Econ 11, Econ 41, and any college writing 2 course. It says you need to get a minimum of a C or higher for these classes, but technically in order to qualify for the Econ major, you need to get a pre-major GPA of a minimum of 2.5, and this is excluding your writing 2 grade. You need to have a cumulative UCLA GPA of 2.0. That's what you need to do in order to apply for the Econ major. So overall, I wouldn't say the prereqs are that intense. Like there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 prereqs. And as I was saying before, if you take an AP class in high school and you like take the AP Econ exam and you get a score that can cover one of the classes, then you can technically like skip Econ 1 or Econ 2. It really depends on what score you get. I did not take the AP Econ exam, so I started from Econ 1. And then also if you take the AP Calc exam, whether it's AB Calc or BC Calc, depending on what score you get there, then you might be able to skip some of the math classes. I scored a 5 on my AP Calc exam, and I was able to skip out of Math 31A, so I just went straight to Math 31B. For the Econ major, once you take those pre-major courses, and as long as you fulfill the requirements of a 2.5 minimum pre-major GPA and then 2.0 cumulative UCLA GPA, you just contact the department, they make sure that you fulfilled everything, and you're pretty much, that's how you get into the Econ major. Now, looking at the Biz Econ major requirements, basically the main difference, as I said, you're taking management accounting classes, and then another key difference is the pre-major GPA minimum, and then also there's a minimum primary score you have to get for the Biz Econ major. This is where things get a little bit more tough, so let me read over the pre-major course requirements. So again, taking Math 31A, 31B, Econ 1, 2, 11, 101, 41, and then you're taking Management 1A, Management 1B, any Writing 2 course. So here, the pre-major courses, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 10 pre-major courses, so obviously this is different than the Econ major. The main differences are Econ 101 and then the 2 management courses. And then the pre-major GPA minimum for the Biz Econ major is a 3.0. Remember, the regular Econ major, it's a 2.5 minimum. The cumulative minimum UCLA GPA is a 2.0, which is the exact same for the Econ major. And then something that's different for Biz Econ is they have something called the minimum primary score. This is basically a very specific kind of GPA primary score, like score that is calculated based on your performance, your grades in the prereqs, and there's a special calculator that the economics department uses. You can access this calculator, it's on the Econ department website, but I've like played around with it, punched in a few numbers here and there, like, oh, if I got an A in this class and a B in this class, what would my primary score be? And you have to be on top of your game if you want to apply into biz econ. So that's where things can get a little tough, because sometimes the econ classes, they can be a little rough. I'll go more into that later. The minimum primary score is interesting because Econ 11 and Econ 101, those two courses are weighted 3 times more heavily than any other econ course when they're calculating that primary score. It really shows that Econ 11 and Econ 101 are very important for your prereqs in biz econ. So what I've taken away from that, and also what I've heard from my college counselors, my peers, people who have taken Econ 11, Econ 101, basically the word and understanding at UCLA is do not take Econ 11 or Econ 101 with another difficult class, because that quarter that you're taking Econ 11 or Econ 101, you really want to focus all your attention onto that class because it's weighted 3 times more heavily than any other econ class in determining your primary score. So you want to make sure that you do well in those 2 classes. They're going to play a major role in whether you qualify and hit that primary score. But yeah, so the minimum primary score in order to get into the biz econ major, you have to have a 3.3 minimum primary score. I would recommend, if you have any questions about it, either contacting the econ department, talking to a college counselor, or again, what I did is I just went and onto the econ department website. I accessed the calculator and I just plugged in random numbers and random grades to see what I would have to do, what grade I would have to get in a certain class in order to hit that minimum score. After you've taken all those pre-major courses for biz econ, and as long as you fulfill those requirements, then again you contact the econ department and they just make sure that you fulfill the requirements, done the classes, and then you're pretty much a biz econ major. Once you have declared your major, whether it's econ or biz econ, then you can go into the main major courses. I'll just list what the major courses for the economics major are here. There are certain ones like 101, 102, 103/the 103 lab, and then the rest you can just fill in with any econ elective. You have to get a minimum of a 2.0 major GPA and a 2.0 cumulative GPA in order to graduate from those major courses. And then for the biz econ major requirements, I'll list them here as well. For the major courses, it's Econ 102, 103/103 lab, and then 2 Econ 106 series courses. And then again, as I said, the biz econ major is interesting. It's unique because you take the management courses. So you can choose between 5 econ and management elective courses from a pre-approved list, and they list all of it on their website. And within that, you can take no more than a total of 3 management courses. You also have to take English Composition 131B, and then you have to complete all those major courses with a minimum grade of C- or higher, upper division major GPA of 2.0, and a minimum cumulative UCL GPA of 2.0. Okay, so that is pretty much the classes. Now moving on to just some logistical things that I've learned that I really wish I knew. So things that I'm gonna be spilling the tea. I'm gonna be sharing it with you guys. Something that I wish I guess kind of just paid more attention to, it wouldn't have changed the choice of what major I went into, but it would have just been nice to know, is that exams are pretty much your entire grade here in college, especially for the econ and biz econ major. In high school you have participation grades and homework grades. It's not just the midterm and final. In high school, if you didn't do well in the final, it's okay. You would still be able to pass a class, especially if you were very engaged in class and you did really well in your homework and all that. Yeah, that's a little different here in college. Here in college, especially for the econ department, a lot of your grade is based on your midterms and your final. For example, a typical grading scheme or grading breakup, I'll talk about my Econ 11 class, which I took this past quarter. My final was worth 40% of the grade, or 50%. Midterm was worth 40%, and then homework was worth 10%. So I don't even want to think about what if I was sick on the day that I took the final, it was an off day, I wasn't feeling well, and I flunked it, that would be rough. So yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it does make you feel a lot of pressure leading up to the exams. Homework is very minimal points, it's 10% of the grade, so definitely still do your homework because still helps. And the main thing about the homework is that those are the practice problems that the professor is giving you to prepare you for the midterm and the final. A lot of those questions are going to be things that you see are going to be really similar to the questions that are asked on the midterm and final. So I would say do the homework, not just for the 10% points that you'll get dedicated to your grade, but because those are the key things that helped me review and study for my midterm and final. Another huge thing is going over practice exams. Most of the time before the midterm and the final, the professor would give us practice exams. So for example, in my last econ class I took this past quarter, my professor gave us at least 5 practice exams from previous years. And that was so helpful because, first of all, it let me see what kind of questions he would ask, because a lot of the questions on the exam are pretty similar. At least seeing kind of the number of questions he would ask and like what my time limit was, making sure that I was managing my time well. I would take a practice exam in the amount of time that was allotted for our real exam and see, am I finishing all the questions in time? If your professor does not give you practice exams, these are all super accessible. You can just look them up online. Let's say your professor's last name is Smith. Just look up online UCLA, Econ, Smith, practice midterm or practice final. And most likely you will find a bunch of practice exams from people previous years who have just put them online. Also, if you have friends who are older students who have taken the class, you can ask them if they have any practice exams. So really utilize your resources, ask people that you know who are in the major, and I'm sure you will definitely find ways to get practice exams, and definitely do those. Those are like the #1 tip I have for preparing for a midterm or a final. The Econ and Biz Econ major are very popular here at UCLA, so at least for the pre-major courses, there are a lot of students in the classes. I would say my lectures are usually around 300-ish people, give or take 100, so sometimes it ranges from like 200 to 400. But yes, a lot of people. Obviously right now with Zoom, you don't see all those people, but when we are in the lecture hall, it gets very crowded. I would definitely recommend making sure that you know at least one person in your econ class. So, whether you're sick one day or you miss out on the notes, if you need a study buddy, someone to just talk to, it's really helpful if you know someone who's in your class that you can text like, hey, want to go over homework answers together? Or at least, after you finish the midterm, like, hey, was that midterm as hard for you as it was for me? And, you guys can cry together. Kidding, but not really, because me and my econ friends have had our fair share of breakdowns together. But so it's really helpful to have someone that you know in the class that you can just text. Also, highly recommend being in the GroupMe's. GroupMe is like a app that's like a group chat app. Usually people will make a GroupMe or some sort of like Facebook group or Facebook Messenger group. All the students in that class are in the group text, so that way you guys can ask each other questions, whether it's about the material or like a homework question or something. Okay, another thing that I want to talk about is classes and like whether they're curved. So obviously this really depends on the professor, it depends on the course. For the most part, most econ classes will have at least a little bit of a curve. Some econ courses will curve more heavily. What I always hear from econ professors, because they always get asked, like the students will always ask like, oh, is this going to be curved or whatever. The econ professors always tell us like, oh, the econ department has a certain amount of students that can get an A and a B and a C and a D. So like we have to curve depending on that so that we hit like the minimum or maximum quota for like however many students can get a certain letter grade. So yes, it really depends on the professor, the quarter that you're in, how everyone does. So for all the econ classes that I've been in, there's been some sort of curve, whether that is an up curve or some professors actually down curve. Like if too many people are doing too good, they will down curve. I personally have not dealt with a down curve. I know some people who have and they've talked about it, but so far all my classes have been up curves, just like very, very small ones though. So I wouldn't like bank on passing a class because of a curve. Like make sure you're doing the work, make sure you're studying hard for the exams, and if the curve happens, that's just an extra boost. Another thing that gets commonly asked is whether you can take a class pass or fail, and that's a really great question, especially we're in a pandemic right now. So basically how it worked is spring quarter is when school went online because of the pandemic, so that's when we shifted to virtual learning. That quarter, the econ department allowed us to do pass-fail and like still apply to the major. And then I believe summer courses we were able to do pass-fail, but now it's fall 2020 and the econ department does not like let us do pass-fail if you want to use those courses for your prereqs. So basically what I'm saying is like if you want to apply into the econ or biz econ major, you gotta take your classes by letter grade. Something that's really important to understand for the econ biz econ majors is that you can only retake a prereq course once. And in order to retake it, you have to have had a C- or lower. So basically that means, let's say that all the courses you did really well in and you're on set to becoming a biz econ major. I have all the requirements right here, but let's say you did not do well in Econ 11. Let's say you got an F in that class and it's really bringing down your primary score and you just need to do well in that one class in order to be able to apply into the major. So yes, that means you are able to retake Econ 11 one time, just one course you're able to retake. And if you do well in it and you hit that minimum primary score, you can apply into the biz econ major. So you have that one class that you're able to retake. But let's say by some chance you flunked all your classes and you are not on track to completing that minimum primary score. If you can't salvage it with just that one retake class, then you're probably gonna have to choose a different major. I would probably recommend like looking at the econ major, especially like, if you're interested in economics and you want to go into that, but let's say you didn't qualify for the biz econ major, then definitely like look at your options in the econ major, because as I said, like when we were looking at the classes earlier, there are fewer requirements. So maybe a class that you failed isn't even a prereq requirement for the econ major. And then also the minimum GPA is lower for the econ major and there's no like primary score. I actually know a lot of people who they originally came in as biz econ and then after they started taking some econ classes, they're like, nah, I'm out fam. They switch over to econ. A good amount of people actually do that, and for a bit I was considering that if I don't do well in my future econ courses, because like who knows, I haven't taken all of them yet. If I don't do well in those, then I'll probably go to econ. Okay, and then I've already started talking about it, but I want to go into more of my experience. So as I said, my AP Calc exam, I had a 5 on that exam, so I was able to bypass the Math 31A requirement. For my first quarter at UCLA, I just took all GEs, so I didn't take any of the prereqs. I started taking prereqs my winter quarter. I believe I said spring quarter at the beginning of this video, but I'm realizing now it's winter quarter. But all I took was Math 31B my winter quarter. I would say for the most part, this is like pretty average. When I was in my new student orientation, which is the summer before your freshman year when you plan out your classes, they recommended me not to take an econ class the first quarter because they want you to like first transition into your first quarter at college. So I went with their advice and I thought it was great, like taking 3 GEs. So I took Math 31B winter quarter, and then my spring quarter I took Econ 1 and Management 1A. I thought that these were fine to take together. I did have background with Econ, so it made Econ 1 easier. It was more just review, and I did have a really good professor for Econ 1. I was able to balance Econ 1 and Management 1A together. And then summer sessions, I took Econ 2 in the summer. And summer sessions here at UCLA, I would make sure if you're going to take summer classes that you know you have time to take them, especially if you're going to be taking a class that is a prereq, that is going to be important, the grade that you get in it. If you're taking a summer course that's a GE, your grade isn't as important, then, it's chill, have a fun summer. But if you're taking a class that is like the grade that you get is going to be important, make sure that you have the time to dedicate to that class, because in the summer the course length is even shorter. Already at UCLA, the quarter system, I'm sure you've heard, if you've heard about UCLA, the quarter system goes by so fast. It is 10 weeks long. That gets condensed to 6 weeks in summer sessions. So basically you're going at like 2 times speed of the regular quarter when you take a summer session. I took Econ 2 in the summer. Yeah, it was very fast paced, but I had a very good professor. He was super helpful. The class, don't get me wrong, it challenged me, but I didn't think it was the worst thing in the world or anything. As I said, I did have a really, really great professor. During this past fall quarter, I just finished Econ 11. That is one of the classes, as I said, it's weighted 3 times more heavily when calculating your primary score. So I made sure, I didn't take I was debating whether to take Econ 41 this quarter as well. I'm glad I didn't because Econ 11 was a lot, and I am glad that I dedicated the time that was needed to that class. Highly recommend, do not take two heavily graded classes together. Just don't do it. It's highly recommended that you take Econ 11 and 101 back-to-back, back-to-back quarters, because Econ 101 expands directly off of 11. I have some friends who they took a quarter break in between, and they said that they wish they had taken it back-to-back because they, kind of forgot some stuff, how to review some stuff, and it's just super helpful if you take it back-to-back because it's basically sequential. How enrollment works at UCLA is there are 2 passes. So you have your enrollment time, and the first pass you get 10 units, I believe, and then after that you have second pass, which then you enroll in your other classes. Make sure if there's a certain econ class or professor that you want, that you use your first pass, because there are so many students here at UCLA. The classes fill up so quickly. If there's a certain class you want, make sure that you get it on your first pass. Do not depend on your second pass for it, because I promise, by the time it's your second pass, which is usually a week later, all the spots are going to be filled if they haven't already been filled first pass. I've talked about this in my other videos before, but enrollment at UCLA is like the Hunger Games. Everyone is fighting for the same classes. Leading up to enrollment, if you're doing research on what classes you want to take, what professor you want to take it from, I highly recommend checking out Walk and reading the reviews of the classes, the professors. So that's pretty much all the info I have about the econ major and biz econ major. Some other things to consider if you're interested in minors. There is an accounting minor at UCLA, and there's also an entrepreneurship minor. They have a capstone requirement at the end of the minor where you do this kind of internship. So if that's something you're interested in, they also have all those listed on the econ department website as well. But yeah, I'm gonna close off this video before my battery dies, but I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below for more. And overall, my thoughts on the biz econ major. As I said, I'm still planning on pursuing that. Hopefully as long as I do well in my last few pre-major courses, I can do that. So far we're on track, so crossing my fingers and hoping that it will continue this way. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments or DM me on Instagram. I have my Instagram handle listed down below. As I said, I have a bunch of other UCLA related videos, so definitely check out my channel for that. Until next time, I hope you guys are staying happy and healthy, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!